enterprise applications for organizations as well. And we also do training and consulting. My background is computer science. I've never been in any other discipline. So all my years I've been a computer person. So I have nearly 2 decades of professional experience in the IT space. Outside of analytics, I also do leadership training. All right, so I think I've mentioned my business. So let's get into the basic of AI concepts. Now, when people hear AI, so nearly there is a lot of buzzwords that goes around. Nearly everything is being artificial intelligence, and you know the movie is so movies are so good at projecting a lot of futuristic of how the technology might likely look like, but not everything that people actually brand as AI is actually AI. But what exactly is AI? So AI is, the goal is to give human-like intelligence to machines. Okay, so the end goal is to give human-like intelligence to machines. That is the things that we will categorize as intelligence, or something that requires human cognition, human intelligence to be able to handle. When we develop machines, any equipment to be able to do that, then we have an AI. Okay, we have an AI. So, and in the minute level, the goal is to allow AI to gain some insights and then use that information to be able to help us in making decisions. So now, the term AI itself was coined around 1950s. Now, I don't know what background most of us come from, but if we are talking about giving human-like intelligence to machines, then what we are really talking about is to allow the machine to do things like talking, which is speech, or things like being able to see, okay, which is an aspect of AI called computer vision. Then it also includes things like natural language processing, which is dealing with human language. For example, we have machines now being developed to be able to do interpretation. So if you have maybe somebody that is speaking in French, you can have an AI that is able to interpret that to English. So that's natural language being processed and being embedded in that way. And also, if we have text, maybe somebody say, where can I find the cheapest shoe in Ontario? That's how you ask question in Google. So what Google then do is to be able to interpret that question that you asked and be able to know that you are looking for shoe in Ontario, and then it will use natural language processing to be able to answer that question from you. So in a number of consumer-facing systems that interact with the end user nowadays, we also have systems that are developed to be able to do chat and to be able to understand human languages. So then we have some other fields of AI like expert systems. So most of these things, they've existed since early 1950s. So in the real sense, it's not really new. It has been in existence for over 60 years. AI has been in existence for over 60 years. All right, so the second word that you may also have heard about is machine learning. Okay, machine learning. So it's a subfield of AI. So a subfield of AI that uses statistical techniques to give computers the ability to learn from data and provide insight. Okay, so that field came into being around early 80s. Okay, remember AI started around the early 50s, but machine learning was discovered around the 50s. And the idea is that one of the ways that human beings learn is by example. For example, when we have kids, we train them at home by giving them examples. So they follow your example. You show them how to do something, and then you ask them to repeat what you have done, and you test their knowledge of based on that experience. So the ability to also provide some samples, we can give some samples of data to say these are some data. Can you look at this data and be able to help us to make some prediction based on that information? So that's the whole idea behind machine learning. That is equipping the computer with the ability to learn from data, the ability to learn. And this one starts at the early 1980s. Now, the next phase, which is the most recent now that we are talking about, is deep learning. Deep learning. So deep learning is a subfield of artificial machine learning. Okay, deep learning is a subfield of machine learning that is concerned with algorithm that is inspired by the structure and function of the human brain. So it is called artificial neural networks. So this field started around 2010. Now the idea is that even though we have machine learning since around the 1980s, there are still a lot of learning that is not possible with computer using some of the existing machine learning algorithms, because most of the basic machine learning algorithms, they only help us to make decisions that are numeric, in the sense of, okay, maybe we want to predict maybe the house prices, to be able to forecast that house prices. That's numeric information we're looking for. Or maybe we want to decide whether a customer is going to churn or not churn. That is a classification problem. We want to determine either option A or option B. So those are what most of the machine learning algorithm does. But beyond that simple decision making, can we have computer that can do more advanced learning and be able to do things that are human level, that require human level cognition, such as speech recognition, such as video content analysis. For example, if I'm watching a video on YouTube and there are some content in that video that are not proper or that are not right, can we have an algorithm that is able to analyze that content and be able to advise me that this content is not suitable for kids? So these are advanced intelligence. These are advanced level information required, and things like even self-drivers without you requiring human beings. So that means computer must be able to see and be able to perceive objects around and be able to make real-time fast decisions based on that. So all of those things are not possible in the kind of machine learning algorithms that we have in the early 80s. So from 2010, the new learning algorithms that was created is called deep learning, and that is able to do some more deeper level of listening and learning. And one of the early application of that is what you have in if you are using iPhone, we have Siri. Okay, Siri is a digital assistant or voice assistant that is integrated into the phone. So you can ask Siri a question, and Siri is going to be able to answer you based on some knowledge base that is already input in there. And I think around 2014 as well, we have Alexa by Amazon, which is also able to provide digital assistance to people. So these are new emerging field right now, and there are so many commissions that are taking place right now using some of these new advanced technology. Now, most of this new technology that we are talking about, they actually find ways in products that people are developing, because there are two ways that most data science products end up. They either end up as a set of insights that you develop for maybe executives and management, or they end up in embedded in products. Just like when you go to Amazon to buy any product, there is an AI that is looking at your purchasing pattern to be able to make recommendations to you. So they know you, they know what you normally buy, the kind of genre of books that you buy, or the kind of profile that you have. And so the next time you came in and you log in, they already know what you are likely looking for, and they are able to quickly make recommendations based on that. So now the other, oh, sorry, this should be data science. What is data science? Not deep science, sorry. So the other thing is data science. Data science is another keyword that is made popular. I think it was first used in 2008. It was created by one of our White House analytic officer. Created what is called data science today. So before, you never hear anything called data science, even though we have some terminologies like business intelligence, data analyst, database administrations, and so on like that, that are also dealing with data. But the idea of data science, or the field of data science, actually take off and became popular after that word data science was coined in 2008. So people that work in that area, they call them data scientists. Okay, so there are people that just use machine learning, data mining, mathematics, and some statistical models, and some advanced AI algorithms and techniques to extract information from data. Now, when we talk about that, it has different levels. In most cases, people are not using the advanced level to and technology. So most places, you are still doing some early stages of what is called data science. So the data that most places are still using, they are structured data, like what you have in your SQL Server or Oracle or standard relational database systems. So, but in the emerging scenarios, most of the AI breakthroughs are coming from using unstructured data, like images, audio, video, and so on like that. All right, so the data science process starts with first collecting data. So that's why the first step is to have data. The first step is to have data. And for me, I think in Africa, one of the things that we have missed in the past is having enough data collection strategy. So if we are going to benefit from the future of AI and analytics, the first thing is that we must have data. In fact, not just having data, we need to have even open data. What that means is that, for example, in most of the developing world, they have some public data sets that people can have and use to be able to provide solutions. Let's take, for example, if I'm working in transportation and I want to develop an AI system to automate a transportation process, there are government data that are available for me to use to pilot my idea. So they are called open data sets. US government have it, and a lot of government also have it. Canada government also have some open data set from government. So the first step is collecting data. The second step is processing the data. So when you collect the data, you have to store it. Now, in the new era now, we have some new kind of storage. Traditionally, we use relational data based management system to store data because they are structured. Okay, but in today's systems, where we have unstructured, we have some systems to be able to do that. And thank God that we have a cloud right now. It's making it easier and cheaper to store. And even storage space in computer is becoming cheaper right now. All right. So the first step is collecting the data. The second step is the processing of the data. And then the third step is cleaning the data. So I'm just giving you a raw idea of what the data science work look like. And then after that, you do some exploratory analysis to be able to gain some preliminary descriptive analysis or to gain some insight about the structure of the data. Then after that, you can go into modeling and developing algorithm. Then after that, you get some results. So your result may be you want to make a presentation to your executives or your top executives. So in that sense, you need to create a visualization of the results. So that means you use your visual communication strategy and your ability to also present the result to the management as well. But there are a lot of other use cases of AI that is not ending up in visualization. So that's why you can also have data product. So let's say we develop an app that is integrated with an AI. So it doesn't have to, the outcome is not going to the executives, but it's integrated as part of a particular product that we develop. All right. So what are the drivers of emerging trends and interest in AI? All right. So somebody make a statement that data is the new oil. And we know that we come from Nigeria, where oil is one of the that Nigeria lay claim to an asset. But recently now we see that the price of oil is going south. So it means that if Nigeria is also going to lead in the future, then we must take an opportunity to create a strategy for data analytics and AI. So like oil, data is very valuable, but if it is unrefined, it cannot really be used. Okay, take note of that. It's not the amount of data that you have that is the asset. It is how much of insight that you can take from it and information that you can glean from it. Now, another statement that is very important is the one by one of the leading guy in AI. He said AI is the new electricity. He's talking about the transforming power of AI. He said just like electricity transformed almost everything 1 year ago, today it is very hard not to think of any sector that will not be transformed by AI. So that statement was made by Andrew Ng, who is one of the top guys in AI field, and is the co-founder of Coursera, and his course is one of the most popular on Coursera today. All right. So, but now, if we say that data is the new oil and AI is the new electricity. Now, from the introduction that I gave, AI has been in existence since the early 50s. And also, data is not new. We have always had data since the early days that computer actually started. So what exactly is new? And not only that, even if you look at organizations and businesses, they've been using data to make a lot of decisions. For example, we've had things like a business analyst, data analyst, business intelligence in existence for many years. And most of them, they go through the data to be able to do, to be able to generate some insight for determining the kind of customer relationship, to determining things like resource planning in the enterprise, to do things like marketing. They've always collect data and use that data to be able to serve the interest of the organization. So what exactly is now new? What is driving the new trend that we are seeing in the field? So there are 4 things that I have here that are that I feel are the drivers of the new interest in AI. Number one is that we now have more data, not just in terms of number of volume of data that we have, but this data now, we have varied amount of data being collected. Okay, so we have flood of new data sources. So before, usually most of the data that organizations collect, they are data that come as a result of how we determine what we need to be able to address the need of customers. So for example, they will ask you to fill some form online. So they already know the kind of information they need from you, and you go and fill that form online. Or maybe assuming that you go to a bank, when you want to open an account, they already have some set of information they require, and they will collect that information from you and keep it in their database. Those are structured information. But these days, what we are now seeing is that most of the data that we have today, they are coming from system of engagement. For example, click streams, sentiment data, behavioral data, when you are using maybe your phone, for example. Every of those things, they are data. And we track all of them to be able to know maybe the time you use your phone or use your phone. In fact, in most of our phone, especially I'm using iPhone, your phone has over 20 sensors inbuilt to determine different things. For example, when you are sitting down, when you are standing up, there are sensors on your phone that can tell us. When you are walking, there are sensors on your phone that can tell us. In fact, there is an app on my iPhone called Health App. That Health App, what it's tracking is the number of movements that I'm making. So it's counting my footsteps when I'm walking. And it's able to determine whether I'm exercising enough, whether I'm walking enough, how much of movement would I make. There are sensors on the phone that can tell us whether there is light around you, whether it is dark around you. There are sensors on your phone that can determine a lot of things. And that is very useful, especially if you are dealing with maybe elderly care home, for example. If I want to know whether somebody is asleep or not sleeping, I can use the sensor on the phone. If I want to know whether somebody fall down and need help, I can use a sensor on the phone to track that if the person fall, please send me an alert for me to know, and I can come down to help the person. So there are so many data that we now get through data sources, and most of these new data sources, they are actually being promoted because of IoT, Internet of Things. They are being promoted because of social media. In fact, a lot of data is going on social media per second. Billions of WhatsApp messages, millions of Facebook posts, Twitter posts, they are going on per second. And all of them are valuable information about customers' behavior, customer sentiment, and so on. So all of this information, including even audio and video, because every device that we have now has the capability to generate audio and video. Your phone, you can do live streaming, you can do video on them. And so we see that this content has increased. So the second thing is cheaper and efficient storage. So now, traditionally, we only use relational database management system and what is called enterprise data warehouse. But now we have a new set of ways of storing data, and that is also made cheaper with the advent of cloud computing systems. It's very cheap to actually store data now on the cloud. Okay, so and we have efficient storage as well. Then the third one is faster computation. Faster computation. Most of the computers, the processing speed has actually accelerated in the last few years. And there is what is called GPU that is now being embedded in most of the new generations of computers that allows us to do advanced processing that we could not do before. Because most of the machine learning model, especially in deep learning, they require a lot of computational resources. Before, we cannot run those algorithms because computer does not have enough processing power. But these days now, computer power has increased, processing power has increased, and it's possible to do those things. Then finally, there is advanced tools and techniques for us to do analytics. There are a lot of open source tools now that allows us to now be able to do most of the things that we want to do. And there are also new techniques like deep learning, which emerged in the last 10 years for us to be able to do advanced analytics. All right. So now big data, I won't waste time to, because of our time, I'll just skip over the definition. Essentially, it's just a large, varied data set that can be analyzed to reveal patterns, trends, and associations in data. So usually they defy the traditional technique of storing data because the traditional one is structure. So now we have both structure and unstructured together. So we need a new way of storing that kind of data. So there are usually 5 P's that are used to describe big data. They call it the 5 P's of big data. Now there are some that just focus on 3, but I believe 5 is the ideal one. The first one is the volume. So that is, we are now talking about zettabytes of data. That's a lot of data, a lot of data. So zettabyte of data talks about the volume. And most of the data that we have right now, they are actually generated within the last 5 years. So that means they are recent. And it is because the level of video, audio, text, images that we have in the last 5 years has increased. So most of the data we have now are generated within the last 5 years. The second thing about big data is velocity. Velocity means the speed at which we generate those data. So mostly now we have real-time data generation, and sometimes the analysis need to happen in real time. I remember there was a time that maybe somebody posted on Facebook something like, "I'm about to commit suicide." And they expect that Facebook should be able to track that kind of message and be able to maybe alert the police before the person kill himself. Now, the person killed himself about 30 minutes after posting that information online. So now they need AI and analytics people to be able to hack so fast. When a data is in, within 30 minutes, the system is able to flag it and detect that actually this person is about to kill himself and send maybe an information to police. Probably they might be able to mitigate. So the velocity of the data is also an issue. Then the third one is veracity. Veracity means the data is coming from many sources that are not verified. So can we trust it? So that's why things like trust, things like privacy, and things like that are going to become very necessary. Then variety means we are not just talking about structured data, we also have unstructured. And mostly over 80% of data that we have nowadays are unstructured. So they are video, they are audio, they are all the other things that traditional analytics have not been able to take care of. Then the last one is value. That is, it's not just the data, but how do we develop algorithms, systems, techniques for us to extract values from those things, not just from traditional structured data, which is our SQL Server or whatever, but also from video, from audio, from text, from speech, and all of those things that we have as data right now. All right, so I will just keep all of this. I've talked about them, the volume. I've talked about this one too, the data that we have right now, images, text, audio, video, and so on. Then the velocity of how data is generated online per second. You can check all of this online. They are public information. So what are use cases? Because I know my time is fast spent. What are use cases? Now, I'm not going to go into business analysis in this case because I think I understand that somebody has talked about that in the past with us. So I'm just going to focus on the product that people are creating using AI. Now, if you look at it, AI can apply in different cases, and we have a lot of real life use cases. For example, it's being used in the health for diagnosis. We have voice assistant that can help you. My Siri, as I'm talking, it will say, what do you want? How can I help you? If I say, hey, I want you to help me to do this, and they begin to do search, it can do booking, it can schedule events on calendar for you. So you have a personal assistant that responds to your audio. And then you can also have self-driving cars, which is going to use object detection and recognition to be able to help you with navigation. So there are a lot of startups that I imagine right now solving problems in different domains, ranging from healthcare, finance, and insurance, transportation, construction, media and entertainment, education, manufacturing, legal, mining, telecommunication, energy, real estate. So many domains. There are so many. And what I would suggest that anybody that is interested in knowing more about each of the domains to do is, if you are in any of the domain, just go online and just Google how is AI being applied in my domain. You will see a lot of resources that will help you to have an idea of what aspect of your current processes is being transformed to be automated with AI or assisted with AI. But I pulled together a few examples. For example, there is a startup in US called ST.io. So what they are using AI in the area of health to analyze urine. Okay, to analyze urine. Now they said there is a way that the urine color that you have can determine infections that you have, or that you have some chronic disease, or even if there are complications when somebody is pregnant. So what they developed was an app that can take your urine sample and analyze the color of that urine to be able to give advice to medical personnel whether the person is infected or is suffering from a particular disease. I have also done a project that used something like this with the University of Calgary Teaching Hospital. We are trying to look at when somebody comes to the hospital for treatment, they collect the blood sample of the person. It's a sick patient. They collect the blood sample. And then after they apply some treatment to the patient, then they will collect the blood sample again. We want to see whether the treatment that they gave to the person actually cure or improve the status of the person. So we do before and after analysis of the color. They already have the color code that should indicate whether the person is well. So that's one project that I've worked on actually. Then that one is the one by Google. They do retina scan and to detect whether somebody has risk of heart disease. So these are image recognition. It's an aspect of computer vision. So they have an app that you can just use to take a screenshot of your retina picture, and then from there they subject it to the algorithm, and then it does an analysis to be able to give them a test whether you have risk of heart disease. And what these things are going to do is that it's going to help us to have personalized medicine. It's going to help us to be able to detect health condition, chronic health condition. And for me, I think these are things that will help Africa, especially where we don't have skilled medical personnel or we don't have enough health resources on ground. So when we are able to codify some of this knowledge into an app or something that people can have at their disposal, it can actually help to have early detection of things like cancer or things like some infections as well. Another example from the finance and insurance industry is anti-money laundering prevention. So these people, what they do is that they develop an AI to be able to develop detect pattern in a transaction or a entity and determine whether the transaction is fraudulent or not. So that's another thing. And they are serving a lot of banks, a lot of financial industries with this particular solution. So it's an anti-money laundering prevention application. Then another one, this one was developed in Africa by a startup in Cameroon. So what they do is they have an app that is able to scan a crop or a plant, and it's able to tell you whether that thing suffers from some disease or not. And that is able to help farmer. I remember that in Nigeria, I also consult with the federal government and Ministry of Agri to be able to do some proposal on the use of what is called precision agriculture for helping Nigerian farmers. Currently, Nigeria has almost 15 million farmers that are registered with government, almost 15 million. And so any breakthrough in agriculture is going to affect a lot of people in Nigeria. So this is another use case. Then in the travel and hospitality, there are so many. I don't even have time to explore all of them because of time. So, and this is not all. There are so many other ones. Please, every domain that you are in, there is a way that AI is being used. All right, so finally, because of time, let me just quickly talk on career and learning part and skill set. And then I'll take the questions. Some people are already putting questions. Okay, so AI and the future of work or job. Now, one of the things that is creating a lot of tension and fear is that nobody really have an idea of which job is going to stay and which job is going to go in the future. But I think one of the things that I like about the Nigerian spirit and what we are made of is that we are always learning, and that should be our strategy. Our strategy is you are never out of school. You are always learning. So every domain that we are in, we should be looking at how is AI impacting that domain. What are the things that are routine that can be automated? What are the things that eventually might be going? For example, if you are in the legal profession, there are so many things that are going to be automated. So how are you going to be affected? How is your work going to be affected? And also, it doesn't even matter. Maybe you are in a particular line of business today, but you are interested in, passionate about advancing the technologies as they evolve in this area. How do you find your path? Because your experience is not a waste. It's still very useful. How do you find your path into this new area? All right. One of the factors that I found to be the limiting factor for the success of most AI and data science projects, especially today, is the lack of talent, shortage of talent. Apart from that, one of the key issues is that there is the first one that is on top here is lack of understanding of the area. So that means if I want to apply AI in a particular area, the starting point for me is to have domain knowledge, domain understanding. I cannot apply AI successfully in an area that I know nothing about. So the first thing is that, do you have domain knowledge? Because when you have that, then the next thing is you are now looking at how do you apply AI technique in that area. So, but you see, you need to acquire a lot of technical skill, so which I'm going to be highlighting later. So there are a lot of other things that can limit success of AI project. So what are the core knowledge base? I believe that number one is domain knowledge. That is, you need to understand the business. So if you want to work in telecommunication industry, you need to understand that domain, how things are done, the business is done, and maybe some of their terminologies and keywords as well. You are familiar with it and what they mean. Then number two, you need technical skills, so which includes coding and programming. You need technical skill. Then number three, you need to have data analytic thinking. Okay, and that is more of having some little bit of maths, statistics, and maybe basic understanding of some linear algebra. Then number four is that you need to have communication skill. Now, in most cases, the way AI is used, especially in the corporate environment, is After you've done your analysis, you are going to make presentations to the stakeholders. So you need to speak confidently. You need to present your argument to the management correctly. So that's very important. Communication is one of the most important skills in the data science work. So I have listed some detail on what are those skills. So you have Python, R, SQL, Hadoop, Spark, machine learning, math statistics, and so on. All right, because of my time, let me just rush through. Now, I try to put together what I feel is probably a learning path for somebody who is starting off from any field and you want to just come into the field. So I think I look at it from 4 different stages. The first stage is when you are just trying to understand data analysis. So in that sense, you are going to be recognized as a data analyst or business intelligence person. So in that sense, you need to have some understanding of Python or R. Now, there are some organizations, especially banks in Canada here, they use SAS mostly, okay? But most of them are also transitioning into R and Python because it's cheaper. Okay, then you need to have SQL's knowledge, SQL, then data manipulation and cleaning, exploratory data analysis. Then you need to have a little bit of statistics. Now, if you are at the elementary level, you probably do not need to know much of statistics, but at least some basic statistics like standard deviation, mean, median, mode, percentile, all of those basic things are going to help you to do basic analysis. Then you also need to know data visualization, like a Tableau. You might be surprised. Excel is also very important. And then Power BI is also another one that is being used. Then for second stage, I think you need to, if you want to now go into data science, you need to have basics of machine learning models, data science project steps, feature engineering, classification, process, regression, algorithms, and then clustering. Then big data, you need to know big data when you get to the stage, big data. And there are so many tools under the big data cluster. There are almost about 20 different tools. Although you don't use all of them in most projects, but at least you need to have a basic understanding of Hadoop. And then another one is Spark. You need to know Spark as well. Now, at the third level is when you are now dealing with some advanced machine learning project. So you need to have some advanced machine learning model, and then know things like dimensionality reduction, principal component analysis, and then you need to have some basic understanding of some cloud technologies, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, Azure. So most organizations, they use the cloud to run most of their machine learning systems, especially the ones that they put in production. So your ability to understand how to put things in the cloud will make you to be able to deploy a machine learning model in the cloud. And finally, on the island, you need to have deep learning. If you are interested in going to the advanced analytics side, then you can go into deep learning. So for that one, you need to know TensorFlow, Theano, and Keras. Okay, those are the two. Then you need to know things like natural language processing. You need to know things like computer vision. So if you are interested, for example, in the healthcare industry, one of the areas that you need to know is image analysis and object detection, which is an aspect of computer vision. Okay, it's very important. Your ability to read the image and be able to analyze it. And then you can do things like recommender systems. That's what you have in Amazon. That's what you have in Netflix. They are able to recommend movies to you, the one that you watch. The goal is to have personalized experience for the customer and for customer to feel like, oh, they already know what I want. Because people want something that can help them out rather than them figuring out which new movies should they watch. So, and also one area that is also emerging is machine learning operations. You know, for those of us from software engineering background, there's what is called DevOps, okay, which is developer operations. So that is the ability to put software applications into real life operation. So in machine learning now, because now machine learning is going into products, there is a new field that is emerging called MLOps, machine learning operations. And this is an area that if you have background in DevOps, you can also explore and look into and be able to migrate into. These are things that pays a lot. Most of them pay six figures. Six figures, they pay very well. So you can easily pivot based on your background. And if you have questions around this, I can answer them later. All right, so there are a lot of other related fields which I might not be able to cover. For example, you have things like data engineer as well. So for those who are only dealing with developing data pipeline to bring in data from different sources, real time, and structured and unstructured, they are called data engineer. And let me tell you, many of them are in high demand right now. They might also call them big data engineer. They might also call them big data developer. They are in high demand right now, and they are paid very well, very, very well. So if you have software engineering background, these are areas that you can go to that doesn't require you to even know statistics or maths. If you don't know statistics, you don't like maths, you don't like giving talks, you don't like speaking or giving presentation, these are areas that you can pivot into, and they will always be in demand. And then we have, if you have project management experience, we have data science product manager, we have data science project manager, we have a lot of other skills that doesn't even require any technical experience. For example, we have data governance, because one of the things that we have right now is that because we are using people's data, there is high concern about the privacy of people. So government is trying to ensure that people are not being put to risk in the way that their data is being used. So every organization now is creating data governance and risk team. So, and there are a lot of opportunity in those areas as well. You don't need to have too much of technical detail. All you just need is to understand the legal requirement of privacy, and then to ensure that the data that are being used comply to all of those requirements. So there are a lot of data and analytics governance as well that I mentioned, and business intelligence and so on. Those are roles that we are used to. Anyway, I think that should okay. Final quote. He said the future belongs to the companies and people that turn data into product. That's a quote by Michael Lukitz from O'Reilly Media in 2010. And that to me indicates that if you want to predict the future, one thing we know is that data is the future. And not just having raw data, but the ability to turn that data into insight or into product. That will be the key to unlocking the future for any organization, for any government, for any entity, and for people who can do all of those transformation of data into product. They will be super rich in the future. Okay, so let's turn on the tap of future inventions, innovation, creativity, and work, as we also leverage on AI and data analytics. Thank you so much, and I'm open to your questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful presentation and insight into the world of big data and artificial intelligence. Okay, so some people have already posted their questions in the chat box, and I'll read them. I'll put some of them out first, after which I'll ask people that want to ask you their questions directly to signify by raising their hands, and then I'll call out to them one after the other. So the first question goes thus: what is the difference between machine learning and deep learning?
Okay, so in one of the slides, I actually make mention of that. So deep learning is a subset of machine learning. It's a subfield of machine learning. So the goal of machine learning is to allow computer to learn from data. But that field starts around the 1980s, but up until 2010, there are some advanced cognitive ability that we want to put into machine that is not possible. The reason is because we don't have storage, we don't have the ability to process some of those data. So the 2010s, this deep learning comes, which now use the brain, the way the brain is wired, using neurons to now create a new algorithm that is using that neural network, what they call neural network, to be able to develop a new set of systems that learn using human brain style of neurons. So, and that's a new field now that is really emerging to integrate into a lot of products. If you see things like driverless cars, if you things like audio, speech to text, audio recognition, most of them, they actually are developed using deep learning.
Okay, so another question. With the important domain knowledge in data science, would you agree that professionals in other non-IT fields, e.g. accounting, can make horizontal growth into data science? How best can we gain knowledge and practical experience in data science/AI?
Okay, so the first thing that you need to have is, so like I told you, there are 4 major core skill set. The first one is domain knowledge. So if I'm in accounting, for example, now I already know that domain. So that means there is a leverage if I want to move into data science to that I already have domain knowledge. I know how things work in that domain. So that's number one. The second thing now is technical knowledge. Okay, are you the kind of person that is interested in programming or not? If not, then there might be some soft skill that you can pivot into. For example, if you go into project management, for example, you have project management experience, then combined with your domain knowledge, then it means you can look at understanding the process of machine learning project, and you can actually work in the area of data science project management, because most of the people that actually act as a manager in many analytic projects, they don't really have technical knowledge as well. They don't have technical knowledge, but they know how to organize teams, how to ensure that the project is completed, how to measure ROI, and all of those KPIs that need to be measured. And they bring all of those wealth of experience together with the technical people to then create a machine learning project in that area. So I would say that it depends on the individual. There are some people that, I mean, they can easily learn the basic programming and then able to pivot. Some other people that generally they don't like programming, and probably they don't like maths. There are some people that doesn't even like maths. So there are still some roles that probably you don't need too much of that you can pivot into.
Okay. So I know you already mentioned the job opportunities that are available. So, but someone is asking that what kind of new jobs can one expect AI to bring about? It appears for now it's about writing algorithms only.
Well, it's not just writing algorithms. So people who are creating the AI system, definitely they need to do all the things that I've talked about today. But that's not the only job that is opening. There are a lot of data-related jobs now that are opening. For example, I talk about the data governance thing. That is, you don't need to write any code to do that. So because there is a risk involved in using people's data to make decisions about them. So government has put a lot of legislation in place. For example, in Canada, we have what is called a PIPEDA, which is the body that is in charge of privacy governance in Canada. So they monitor how organizations are using people's data, and every organization has to report to government about uh, their policies for the usage of data, the kind of data they are collecting, where they are, how that data is being used. In fact, I remember a project that I did in a particular bank, and we actually wanted to develop a system, and we need to get the credit score of people, not individual. We want to have aggregated credit score. It took about, I think, about 4 months to be able to get permission from the data governance team in the bank to be able to use that particular field alone. It took 4 months of different forth and back, different discussions to be able to get it. So these are roles that are also coming alive, and they are going to be very important. So I don't know the specific field that the individual that asked the question is, but what I want you to do is go online and look at how AI is being used in your own specific field. And you will have some idea, because you have domain knowledge, you will have some idea of what the changes are looking like in your field.
Okay. So next question, how can private businesses and entrepreneurs apply AI when there is no management to present to or report to?
All right. So I have my own private business. So how do I do it? So the first step is if you have the experience and the skill, you can do consulting for business, like the one I told you did the AntiMoney Laundering. They are private business, but they develop a product that banks and financial organizations need, because there are a lot of third-party services that most of the institutions use. So you can also look at that. The second thing that I think you can also do, if you don't have, if you're a small startup, is to look at how can you develop a product that integrates AI. For example, for me, I'm passionate about AI application in health domain. And so I have friends that are doctors. I have friends that are pharmacists. So my strategy is to partner with them. Like the project I told you that I work with the University of Calgary Teaching Hospital. I have a friend there that is a pharmacist who is working on the project, and we just collaborate. And so he supplied me the data, he supplied me the medical image, because he has the license and the permission to be able to take those information, and I become the technical person. So you look for collaborations with domain experts and people that can give you data, and then from there you can build some test case for your idea. And also there are some open source data as well that you can leverage to test your idea at the early stage.
Okay, so that takes me to this next question. Someone said, I like the examples you shared on how AI is used in healthcare. You mentioned that open source databases are available in developed countries. Do you know some open source healthcare databases available in Canada?
Yeah, I think Canada has, I can't remember the exact website now, but yeah, you can just Google it. The government has a specific, I can't remember, but I know I've used it once in the past, where they put some data and information that public can use. I know US government has, I think, opendata.gov or something, where you can have some data in the area of maybe transportation, education, and so on like that. So if you are doing some AI project for the public good or for social good, there are some of those data that you can leverage on. But beyond that, there are some universities as well, like Stanford, that has open data sets that you can use to test your idea. Beyond that, there are some other data sources that you can also leverage on, like Kaggle. If you join Kaggle, so Kaggle has some data sets that they use to also post that you can also use to pilot some idea. And you can also read some other people's project to get some inspiration about how they are using AI in different fields.
Okay. Okay. So someone said, what would you advise a data scientist to be aware of in terms of privacy so that the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act is not violated?
Yeah, so the thing is that there are government regulations and policies that determine what you can do and what you cannot do with user data. And one of the first major requirements of privacy is user consent. So that means you cannot use users' data without their consent for some purposes. There are some purposes that are allowed because for you to render service to your user, you need their data, but you have to get their consent. So usually, for most organizations, when they are onboarding people, there is an agreement document that they ask them to sign. And in that document, which is usually created by lawyers, they will put in there that we are going to collect data to be able to render services to you and so on like that. We are going to use the data for some specific purposes. So, and the person has to agree. Now, most people don't read those agreement documents, they just sign. So when you want to join Facebook or join anyone, they'll give you all of those things, but people consent to it. As far as the law is concerned, if you are using those information within the requirement of your business, you are okay if you seek the consent of people. But there are different categories of data. There are some data that are very sensitive. For example, like age, for example, is sensitive. For example, in Canada, it's against the law for you to discriminate people based on age. So if you are using age to segment people, and you are using it to decision on who you want to target or not target, then it's going to be a problem. So, for example, in the case of bank, they do limited segmentation because of that restriction of discrimination.
Okay. Please, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask him directly, just signify by raising your hands, and I'll be calling on you shortly. So the next question is, how does one position themselves in a particular domain for high impact in AI? Also, how long does it take for someone without computer science background to thrive in this line?
Okay, so it depends where the person's background is. There are some that come from engineering as well, so you are not far off. Many of you have taken, if you are in engineering, for example, you have taken some few programming classes at the early stages. You might not have done a lot of programming, but you have some other skills like statistics, maths, that and critical thinking, maybe communication that are already a leverage. Then say take or Python, you will be able to get it if you are from an engineering background. If you are not from an engineering background, you can also learn. You can also learn. Have people that are not even from engineering, they are not even any of the science related field, and they are actually able to fight for and learn. I mean, currently now I'm teaching some of my kids actually coding at the early stages of their life. It doesn't mean I want them to do computer science, but I believe that in the future, everybody will need to have a basic understanding of programming in one way or the other, because it's going to be part of our life. So I'm not too sure of the specific background of the person, but I would say that if you have maybe sciences or engineering, you already have a number of background that can be leveraged on. All you just need is to understand some basic knowledge of Python or R, and then understand maybe some basic machine learning algorithm, which should not be difficult for you if you have some mathematical experience.
Okay, thank you. So Olatunji, you can go ahead and ask your question now, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Just one question from me. What do you think the impact of AI will be, maybe in Africa, for example? So let me give you an example of Nigeria, where we are like over 200 million, depending on who you ask. If you are 19 years old, you are older than 50% of the population. And then the unemployment rate is really high. So if you go in there with artificial intelligence automating processes, where does that leave a country like Nigeria? What do you think that impact will be?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think Nigeria unemployment rate is really sickening, because I know that so many youths nowadays, when they finish schools, it's difficult for them to really get jobs. So that means one of the ways that we can do is to have interventions that is able to introduce them into some of these new areas, new fields as early as possible. And so that as they go through the career, they have the understanding of what is going on. I belong to a group in Nigeria called Data Science Nigeria. I'm one of the mentors with the Data Science Nigeria, and that team is doing a lot of remarkable job trying to expose Nigeria to the field of data science. They bring experts from all around the world. I've given several presentations and talk with them as well, and they assign some graduate students, undergraduate and graduate students to me. Even some lecturers are also working with me to mentor them. So I believe that Nigeria, from my own experience, we are one of the smartest people in the world. So what we need is leadership. What we need is vision. Like for me, I have been in Nigeria in 2015 to give some talk, 2016 to give some talk, 2017 to give some talk. And there was a project that we had to do then on agric using AI. We wanted to do precision agriculture to support farmers. But the project started off, but after that, they changed the guy that was Minister of Communications then. And that was the end of the project afterwards. So one of the things that I think is missing is lack of leadership vision, because one of the things that I was suggesting with them when I was having a meeting with the Minister of Communication and Minister of Agri, the former one that was there then, was that we need a strategy for analytics and AI. Now, if you look at most of the developed countries, US, Canada, Japan, China is number one actually in AI globally, followed by US. Then UK, all of them have 10-year strategy for AI. They have 10-year strategy to say this is the government priority. And Canada is actually one of the top two, because we have some of the 3 best centers in UK, one in Montreal, one in Toronto, and one in Alberta. Some of the top AI researchers in the world, they are in Canada. So Canada has an AI strategy. You can just Google it. What is Canada's AI strategy, US AI strategy? You will get it. Japan, China, everybody has 10-year strategy. But I was telling the Minister of Communication, I said, Nigeria needs an AI strategy, because the role of government is to set a vision. And then small businesses, educational institutions, they make it a priority to begin to train people along those lines based on government's strategy. And then government also release funds to fund research in those areas. But unfortunately, until now, we still don't have it. And to me, that is one of the areas where we need to have some transformation, because without vision, people will perish. That to me is the missing link.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I have another question here. Can you explain the role data architect, how a solutions architect can adapt as well?
Yeah, so if you look at traditional software, because if you look at traditional software role, we have different designations. So architect is more of people that do more of designs and create strategies on data strategy especially. So if you look at software development process as well, you have different roles that people play. So one of the roles that you have in the software environment is software architect. So they are more of the people that are the creative, the brain behind different processes and how those processes are going to be connected together, related together. So in the same way with data, every organization needs data strategy. They need data strategy. They have data right now, but is that data meeting their need? Is that data useful? How are those data supposed to be integrated together? Are they supposed to be used? Who is supposed to use what, and so on like that? Those are strategies. And a data architect, what it does is to be able to create some of those visions for organizations.
Okay. So another question: how would you advise someone without? How would you advise someone who is on level 2 in the learning path you shared to break into the analytic field in Canada? Do you have recommendations on how to break into data and analytics governance? Can you assist in securing jobs in this field?
Okay, so if you're on level 2, that means that you're already in the field. If you're in level 2 in my stuff, it means you're already in the field. So that means you know at least either Python or R, you know SQL, you know most of the basic descriptive analytics. So that means you're already in the field. Now, you might not be able to enter in as a data scientist, because for you to be a data scientist, you need to have machine learning experience, especially be able to do supervised and unsupervised learning. And then also they will require you to have an understanding of the machine learning project process, and also to be able to know Spark, a little bit of Spark, especially Hive. Hive, you need to know Hive and maybe PySpark. And sometimes they ask you for maybe Scala or Java as well. But in most cases, Scala and Java is usually required for data engineering. So, but you need to have some knowledge of Skype, and some other tools within the Hadoop ecosystem. So, if you have all of those level 1 and level 2, I think the next thing would then be that for you to secure a job, these are extra things that you need. Number 1, you need to work on some projects that relate to the domain that you are looking for. So, for example, if you are looking for a job in the banking industry, you must have done projects that relate with how banks are using analytics. Let's say, for example, for customer churn analysis, or for predicting loan default, whether somebody will default on loan or not. So if you have, those are called your portfolio. So if you just apply and you don't have those projects that you have worked on, it will be difficult for you to get a job. So you need to have some portfolio which shows that you understand the process. And if they give you a project to handle, you understand how to handle that project. So that, to me, will be one thing. Then the second thing you can also do is to join open source group like Kaggle, because with that, you will be able to get some open data set that you can use, and you'll be able to even see some projects that relate to the industry or domain that you are about to step into, what people are already doing. I remember one of the first projects that I looked at was from Kaggle. It's the popular data set of the what is it called again? I forgot to. It's predicting whether somebody survived Titanic or not. Whether somebody survived Titanic or not. And after that, I got an open data set on loan prediction, and I work on them. And after that, I bought some data set as well that I work on. So if you are in some specific domain like finance and you need something to work on, you can reach out to me personally, and I'll give some practical advice on what you can do.
Okay. So talking about projects, because someone is asking here that, are you open to involving persons with basic knowledge of AI in projects you have to enable them gain hands-on experience? I am interested if such an opportunity exists. Can you leave your email address and any required contact information? Well, yeah.
Yeah. So because my own goal is also to create more personnel that have the experience and the expertise. So currently, I have at least about 8 people in Canada here that I'm mentoring. not to talk of the other people that I have outside in Nigeria that are under my name. So specifically, I will say on individual basis, yes, I can look at the case, the experience of the person, and then what the person is looking for, and make a decision based on that.
Okay, so I'll just read out
So the
one.
person can reach out to me.
Okay, okay, and then I guess this is your email address that we are seeing on the last slide here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just read out one last question before we wrap up. How important are certifications in the field of data science and AI? Because IT field currently places a lot of premium on certifications. What certifications would you recommend for data governance?
Okay. So there are a lot of certifications. I didn't do any. So I didn't do any because usually with PhD that I have, so it's assumed that you have all the required expertise, and my background is computer science. So if you come from analytical disciplines like engineering, computer science, and some other stuff, they assume that you have some background in maths and you have maybe advanced degree like master's and PhD. You don't need to have PhD, but at least if you have master's, PhD, so that's already give a kind of leverage. You don't need too much of certification. But if you don't have maybe master's, you don't have PhD, then there are a lot of certifications that could also help you. I would say that what I think I would suggest is find some online classes that gives you certificate. For example, you can go to Coursera and take some of their machine learning and AI programs, or you can go to maybe Udemy as well. Find some very highly rated courses there. Do it. At the end of the course, they will give you a certificate. They will give you a certificate. So applying for a job, you can attach that certificate and add it to your profile. And also on your LinkedIn, put all those certifications, that certificate that you achieve as there. Because eventually what they will be looking for is not necessarily the certification itself, but your practical hands-on experience. So as you are doing those courses, make sure that you are also having portfolio of projects that are related to the domain that you are looking to go into, that you can say, oh, I've done some projects on customer churn analysis, which is related to maybe financial industry or telecommunication industry, for example.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So I'll be handing over to Nii now to wrap up the session.
Hi, just one question, please, before you wrap up. Is that okay?
All right. Yeah, sure.
Yes. Thank you, Doctor, for such a wonderful presentation. I just have a question. I'm a data scientist, and I know you spoke about working with the government in terms of AI project. Yeah, I'm a Nigerian as well as everybody, of course, and I know it could be very hard to work with a Nigerian government based on my experience. And I was wondering, what are other ways to break into Nigeria? Do you know of any companies that, are working on AI projects right now, or do you see going in that direction that one can consult with, from here in Canada? Thanks.
Yeah, so my own experience is that, from 2017 till now, I've not really moved much into Nigeria, but I know that eventually Nigeria will be open to us. So in 2015, 2016, 2017, I was so aggressive. In fact, I make a conference, I was keynote speaker for Nigerian Computer Society, which is the umbrella body for all IT organizations, government, and so on. In 2015, I was their keynote speaker, and I speak on big data analytics, opportunities, and challenges. I was one of the 2 people that was invited outside of Nigeria to come and be keynote speaker. After my talk, the Minister of Communication was there, the Governor of Ondo State was there. They were all asking me, giving me their cards. In fact, I came back with almost 200 business cards So many businesses, we want to partner with you. We want you to help us with AI. But the problem is that most Nigerian businesses, they depend on government contract. And that's the truth of the matter. Most IT companies, they depend on government contract. It's not like many of them have products that they are already running that you can just now look at how to bring the analytics into. And that became very difficult. For the few of them that I was having meeting with and conversation with, I discovered that they are not really ready. They don't have any platform that we can leverage on. So that was how the conversation couldn't go on. So, but for the government, I think the idea is that although I learned that maybe the new Minister of Communication now, which I met then actually, he was director of NIC then. I learned that he is trying to bring some innovations into the department because he also was an IT person. He has PhD in computer science, but I don't know how much work they are doing. So from government perspective, I don't know much about the opportunity that is open now from government. And then from private companies, the ones that I've interacted with, they don't really have much in terms of products that they are putting out there. But I think what I'm beginning to see is that some younger generations right now of startups are beginning to start addressing some Nigerian problem like transportation and so on like that. So maybe we should be on the lookout for some of the new generations and see how they are evolving and probably see what we can do. But I think what I would suggest that we should also do, because many of us have experience now, we have exposure, is to have like-minded, like what these Nigeria IT professionals are bringing to them. Rather than us just even having this kind of discussion and let it go, we can have maybe a subgroup of people who are interested in AI, machine learning, and analytics, probably people who are working in the area. Can we even collaborate and look at maybe a particular domain that we have somebody who is an expert in, come in, join us, and then we develop something for that domain.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I would really appreciate that if we can come up with something like that.
Yeah, you can reach out to me and let's do it.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll reach out to you on LinkedIn.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Johnson. It's been a really wonderful time. We thank you for your domain expertise and I would say demystifying AI, big data, and machine learning for us all tonight. I'm sure we still have a lot of questions that our members want to ask. We'll most likely be collating those questions and sending it to you by email, and we'll get back to members on responses to those questions. Osita, do you want to add anything before I close?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
All right, so I think you've wrapped up, The only thing I can add here is just to thank Dr. Johnson once again for committing his time to speak to us tonight. Personally, I learned a lot from this presentation, and I believe that all the participants also learned one or two things as well. Even looking at the question that the lady asked, I think Latifa, the last person that asked the question, it's all about collaboration, right? I believe so much that if we're able to collaborate as a people, we can do much more. And that is at the core vision of NIPCA. So even within the group right now, we've got different working groups. And the next strategy as well is to begin to look at how we can, within the working groups, how we can set up a couple of projects. So even if right now the vision is about empowerment of Nigerian IT professionals in Canada, collaborations, helping people with mentorship, getting of jobs and all those kind of things. In the near future, part of the strategy is to see how we can begin to develop products to market. So it's not just about talking or encouraging ourselves or educating ourselves, but we need to also begin to collaborate. Last week, I was with a call with this guy, Professor Ndukwe. Some of you might know him. He's a Nigerian based in US. The guy is one of the tech geniuses in Silicon Valley there. So there are a lot of collaboration that we're already working towards to see how we can collaborate with people that have been there. What are they doing? How do we collaborate as Nigerian IT professionals to leverage on those mentors? Okay, and that is where Dr. Johnson comes in as well, as people that have been there. We've got lots of budding data scientists and other people in different professions that are looking for pathway. How do they break in? I can see some of the questions. Members, even within our members, everybody's thinking about how can I break in? I'm a data analyst. How do I break into data scientist? Okay, I'm a data scientist. How do I break into AI? Where are the projects and all those kind of things? So we can always make these kind of things happen through collaboration. And I think that is where we are headed to. Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson. We really appreciate this impactful and educative presentation tonight. And thanks again to all the people that participated, including some that are non-members of NIPCA. We also thank you guys for coming on board to collaborate with us tonight. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. So thank you, everyone. Thank you once again, Dr. Johnson. Thank you for taking time out tonight. Thank you so much, John.
All right. Okay. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.